I love our investors very dearly, but I can't trust them to start a board. I'm here and eager to share any numbers or specifics related to any of our business you would like to ask. So I'm assuming you guys are at least quasi-familiar with what Tumblr is and what we've been doing. We're about 3 years old now. Started in New York City. Our office is still on Park Avenue. We've expanded over 3 years to a team of 12 people. Still very small comparatively. Twitter was already about 40 people when they were our age. They're about a year and a half older than us, to be fair. And we've spent the last 3 years really focusing on product, more recently scale, as we've had a bigger audience showing up to the site over the last few months. So presented some infrastructure challenges, but mostly most of our team and most of our time has been focusing on product, new user acquisition, and user engagement. So it's sort of a new endeavor. Excuse me while I catch my breath for a moment. It just ran, I think, 15 blocks, which is a ton for someone. It's a huge amount of physical exertion for me. So more recently, we started turning our attention to revenue-generating features, which is entirely new for us and actually a really fun focus. We spent the last 3 years kind of perfecting a product. Now we get to spend the rest of the year, probably the rest of our careers, working on making it a self-sufficient, self-sustaining thing that is sort of in control of its own destiny. Something that we can say, no, we don't need to give up any more equity, any more control to outside investors. Instead, our users are kind enough to enter their credit cards and pay for services that actually support all of these requests that we have to serve every day, all of these servers, and all the personnel to manage all those servers. So real quick with that, just out of curiosity, are more of you guys interested in the operational side of Tumblr, our personnel, how we scaled over the last 3 years, and what I've sort of, I have just no background in even big companies, so this is all completely new to me, and I'm happy to share anything around that. Also happy to share anything about the product design end of it, and kind of keeping users engaged, and how users interact with services like this on the web, and then also the revenue stuff. So just in general, would you guys say that you're more into the product side, how the website works, and what people are into there? More the business end of things and the actual operational side of Tumblr? Hands or something, just to give me a clue, I'll say where to start. In products? Oh, about split, okay. So let's start with product. I'd love to jump into Q&A sooner rather than later, because I have no idea what the hell we're doing, but let's, can I keep one? So, let me tell you a couple stories. I'll tell you about the revenue ones, because that's what I've got fresh on my mind after our board meeting. So, yeah. Sex music's really good, by the way. Okay, so our directories. So it's taken us 3 years to get a directory right. Coca-Cola, or as an example, Ace Hotel, trendy hotel, is very active on Tumblr. We wanted this to be something that was useful for them, but something that they couldn't take over. We didn't want all those big things up top to feel like ads that Coca-Cola and Ace Hotel and other brands were using to kind of take over and monopolize the directories. So we priced them cheap. We allowed a lot to be in rotation, so there are a lot of directories. There are 3 units per directory. Which means that if Coca-Cola wanted to buy one of these, they could, but it would be pretty mitigated. It wouldn't feel like Coca-Cola owned this directory. So the value of those was really kept intact. The recommendations are entirely democratic, so really no way for a brand to influence that without legitimate means, which left the opportunity for us to, maybe if we were clever enough, add an extra layer, which was, okay, Coca-Cola or Ace Hotel or one of these guys wants to come in and wants to maybe not take over a directory, but kind of put their stamp of invitation on it and draw some more attention back to themselves. We now let them do that with what we're calling directory decorations. We just tested our first one this week, where Cartoon Network has a new show, or had a new show premiering on Monday. On Monday, a few hours before the show premiered, we took over the animation directory, didn't take over, but overlaid on the animation directory this cool artwork. So you can kind of see it all over here. So we added some characters from the show. As it happened, this is a show that, in addition to being a adorable preschool show, really, if you haven't seen it yet, it's called Adventure Time. Hugely appeals to like lunatic adults who just get a kick out of this like either anime or like I don't know, LSD trip style, like totally nutty children animation. So just it really appeals to that sensibility. As you can see, it was already our most recommended blog in the animators category. So already a big presence on Tumblr. We quadrupled their followers in a day, and in theory drove a few thousand more people over to watch the premiere on the Karp network because of this thing that, rather than burying everything else in the directory, actually added a huge layer of vindication to them. So all these people who were recommended in the animators category were suddenly linking to this page saying, holy shit, I'm at the top of, or I'm like at the top 10 of the Cartoon Network animators directory. All of a sudden it was a very legitimate thing to them that they were proud of, and kind of spreading the message even further. So that's a very, very quick rundown of one of our first revenue generating experiments. Again, I can speak to Tumblr in a whole bunch of different ways on product and revenue stuff, but why don't we start? I'm sure I'll ramble on, so let me take a few questions now and see if that sparks anything. That's it.
What was it like in its earliest days? Like, who were the founders and what did they do?
So I was running a consulting shop with a programmer named Marco Arment, who, where we'd spent about a year and a half together building mostly YouTube clones for companies like VH1, a lot of Viacom companies, VH1, MTV, and a few of their smaller producers and things. Building YouTube clones, community sites, funky implementations of wikis, things like that. So big media companies that were interested in experimenting with newer, younger tech ideas on the web, we were sort of their dudes. We were doing a lot of these projects. About a year and a half in, about a year in, we launched a simple little file sharing tool called Sendoit. It wound up with a few million uniques, got us a little bit of attention, and lended a little bit of legitimacy to our consulting business. And then about 6 months after that, after exploring this idea of a different kind of blogging platform, I kind of said we were in between projects. We had a couple weeks before we started our next gig. Said let's just see what we can do. Let's see if we can finish up the basic publishing interface. And we started with, at the time I think it was just 5 buttons. So you would log in, you get 5 big buttons of post text, post a link, post a quote, and they were these templates for different types of posts, which is actually very removed from what you got on WordPress or Blogger, which was a big empty text box, which is very uninviting if all you wanted to do was share a quote of something clever you just read, or a song that you had stuck in your head, or a photo of what you're doing today. You felt obligated. You were obliged to create a title, come up with a witty, clever headline, format a few paragraphs of smart text editorial, resize your images, scale them, align them, do the whole thing to create a nice blog post. Tumblr was all about the opposite, which was as soon as you have that meme, that piece of media that you want to share, click photo, upload it, and it goes on your blog, and we take care of the presentation. Our themes, Tumblr's aesthetic, can take just that photo, or just that photo with a caption, or just that photo with a caption and a link, and make it look good with whatever you throw at us, basically. So we did. We got the first version together in a couple weeks. We just used it ourselves for the first month or two. It leaked. A few bloggers picked up on it, and they started to point out that this was another project from this little company in New York. Sent a few links our way. And what started to happen was we sort of by accident leveraged different networks with different types of audiences to very quickly, we were at 75,000 users by the end of the first month. And after 3 months, we were at 300,000 users. And where that really came from was, first, a few of the influential bloggers picking up on what we were doing, mentioning it. A few of the slightly more visible bloggers, a few of the slightly more prominent people on the web, reposting it, picking up on it, and linking to it themselves. Then all the forums, all of the social sites, starting to post about what we were doing, sending users our way. And then within the first month, we had links on Delicious, links on Dig, that were, for the first time, driving big groups of users over to Tumblr, and then after that, that's when TechCrunch and National and those sites picked up on. So really, within a month, just leverage from all of those different little communities, starting with some avant-garde bloggers, to some slightly more mainstream bloggers, to the social networking, to the social bookmarking sites,